Welcome into the CHGO White Sox Podcast, coming to you live from Studio A of our CHGO offices here in the West Loop of Chicago. We got a jam-packed show for you today. I'm Sean Anderson, your host. Alongside me, Herb Lawrence.
Hello.
You can follow him at Ectorwall23. He's our CHGO White Sox community leader. I'm Sean Anderson. You can follow me at Sean_W_Anderson. As Antonio is reminding you, hit that thumbs up button. Make sure you're subscribing to the CHGO Sports YouTube channel, and you can also become a diehard today over at allchgo.com/diehard. Herb will be doing an OT tonight after the game. Drew Thorp will be making his major league debut. We have Elijah Evans of FutureSox joining us at 4 p.m. to talk about Thorpe's debut. We will also be recapping last night's blow-up of the Chicago White Sox as they had a 4-0 lead heading into the bottom of the eighth. And Herb, what happened?
The White Sox. Oh,
okay. They lost. So there you go. Sarah is our producer today.
Hello.
Hello, and let's jump into it. The White Sox, it was kind of like how Jordan Schusterman laid out. It's going to be a pitching duel. It's going to be a pretty quick game. They're going to get through it, and they're going to just go play some baseball. And there wasn't a run scored until the top of the sixth inning when Luis Robert Jr. did things that only Luis Robert Jr. can do. It says 403 on the estimated distance, but friends, that went 700 feet. That's like using the aluminum power bat power up in backyard baseball. That man just thunked that thing. And I understand he hasn't been the best since returning from injury, but in 6 games, he has 3 home runs since returning from a pretty severe injury, and he's returned in 6 weeks or so.
Yeah.
I know it hasn't been, the healthiest 2024, but you look at his last 130 games, he has 39 homers and 32 doubles. I saw someone mentioning, is the Soto-like or Soto-plus package that's reported by Bob Nightingale to acquire Robert this year. Someone was asking, is that, feasible? Is that likely? I think, hell yeah. I understand he's not Soto. He doesn't have the same age as Soto was when he was dealt there, but he has more control. He actually plays defense and gives you power that is just lacking throughout all of Major League Baseball. I think the average slugging percentage is below 400 for the league. And here comes Luis Robert Jr., and every time it seems like he makes contact, which is one of the concerns. He doesn't make enough contact, but when he does make contact, kaboom.
I would say you're not going to get the deal that you got from Soto. I understand Luis Robert is a superstar, but the age is the difference. 27 when he'll be traded, while Soto was 23. This is the Padres trade we're talking about. And they gave up C.J. Abrams, they gave up Mackenzie Gore, Robert Hassel, and James Wood. Like, those 4 players right there, top prospects, and will be contributing, if they're not already contributing, to the Washington Nationals this year. So I don't think we're going to get 4 major leaguers who are going to be pretty good for Luis Robert Jr. Should we? Yes. But I think that might happen maybe next year once he shows, after this injury he had this year, that he's healthy and he can go the full year. I don't think the White Sox will get the deal that they want this trade deadline for Luis Robert Jr. And with 2 or 3+ years of remaining control, I think they don't have to be in a rush to trade him. And as people are talking about, like, if you can't rebuild in 3 years, then what are you doing with a team?
Right.
We're giving you this year as a free pass. If you can't, in the 3 years that you have remaining for Luis Robert, get a team that's at least competitive in the AL Central, quit your job.
Well, and you have to buy out some dead money, right, to actually use these team options. But we think they can clear up $25 million for declining Moncada's option.
Correct.
They decline Jimenez's option. They gain about $13.8 million. Like, you should be able to do something with $38 million. And plus, if the owner is committed, which we all know he's not, to putting a winning team out there, and we've seen him, put out a payroll of $185 million, you should be able to build a team with, what they're salary sits around 125 million. You take out the 38 million. I mean, you have about nearly $100 million to work with for the 2025 team. Like, they should be able to build around Luis Robert Jr. We don't have to get into it, but for reasons that we all know, they're not going to build around Luis Robert Jr. I'm with you, though. Keep him, and let's see how you can build up his value, because, again, he just played his first full season, and I understand people bring that up consistently against him, but he did technically play a full season in 2020. He played 56 of 60 games, hit a monster home run in the postseason, and in 2021, he was the best player in the second half of baseball. Yes, he was injured, but he was fine when he came back. He struggled a little bit in 2022, but he came back fine and better than ever in 2023. What if, and I know it's a huge what if he's fine for the rest of the season? What if he's healthy for the rest of the season and puts up 25 home runs? I don't know if that's reachable with the amount of games that he missed, but what if he puts up 25 home runs and is slugging over 500 and still playing good defense out in center field, top 3 in Gold Glove voting or whatever, right? Like, I mean, that's going to be a guy that has a ton of value in the offseason. So there's no rush.
I mean, he has like 95 games to do it in, so I see no problem with him getting to the 25 home run plateau.
Per 162 games, the lovely stat that Baseball Reference compiles, if you take his 13 games so far in 2024, how many home runs would Luis Robert hit per the 62-game stat on Baseball Reference?
So he's hit how many? 6 this year?
5.
5? So I would say, I'm not a good math person, I would say 48.
62. So obviously he's not going to play 162 games because he's missed a ton. But hey, he's on a 62 home run pace in a 162 game season.
Let me tell you, I would have zero problem with him chasing an occasional sweeper or a slider outside the zone if he hits 62 home runs in a year.
Ryan Stanek's also pretty good, so him just striking out at that last one. He had one hell of a pitch to swing at that first one, that slider middle, and I think he just thought it was a fastball, swung over it, and there you go. That's kind of it.
And also, Logan Gilbert, the guy who hit the ball off of, is also pretty damn good.
That's 96 up and in, and that's as up and in as it gets, and that's a strike, too, if it's called. I mean, that's one hell of a swing that he put on.
And he's like, this is garbage.
Yeah.
Get this trash out of here immediately.
Your mom's favorite player, Corey Julks, hit a homer as well in the 8th inning. I don't know. That just kind of sounds good. I don't really get it. I said it last night to myself after he hit the homer, and I'm just going to go with it. Yeah. Your mom's favorite player, Corey Julks.
She said it.
Yeah, right. And it was really just smooth sailing for the Sox through 8 innings, 4-0. And Erick Fedde, who was very good last night, 7 innings pitched, 5 hits, 1 earned run, 1 walk, 4 Ks. He had no earned runs going into the 8th inning, did allow a solo home run to Dominic Canzone. Were you fine with them pulling him at 93 pitches?
I was. Either you're going to let him pitch the 8th inning or you're going to start a fresh inning with somebody else. Not both. So either start Kopech in the 8th inning as the starter or let Erick Fedde go through the 8th inning. Yes, he gave up a home run on a middle fastball to Dominic Canzone. Good luck. Hey, congratulations, sir. That's the first home run or first run they've got me off this whole game. Let him pitch again. If you're going to let him go in that game in the 8th inning, would you just have the caveat of you don't give up a run? I get it, but also he was dominant throughout that game. And just giving up a run, to me, under 100 pitches, and he didn't look gassed, seemed like a quick pull. So it was indecision that I thought was the biggest problem there. Yes, Kopech had a clean inning where there was no outs, there was nobody on base, so he should have got the job done himself. But I think you just have to have some decisions. Hey, Eric, this is your inning unless you get into trouble. And giving up a home run to me is not trouble. Sometimes you're going to give up a home run.
Yeah, that's fair. But, I mean, again, it's the 8th and 9th inning. Kopech and Leasure are fresh. I thought it was interesting to go to Kopech there first and not Leasure, but oh well. And Kopech, too. I mean, you give up the single to the first guy you see, you just can't walk J.P. Crawford on 4 pitches. I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, I don't hate the decision Pedro Grifol made. Michael Kopech needs to shut it down. Michael Kopech needs to be a closer, and he wasn't. We do have a guest joining us, so we're going to take a quick break. We'll re-pick up this game later, but we do want to talk about tonight's game. The White Sox will be taking on the Mariners tonight at 8:40, and Drew Thorp will be making his first major league start. We'll talk to Elijah Evans of FutureSox next about Thorpe's first start, but we want to let you know about about our friends over at PrizePicks, America's #1 fantasy sports app with more than 5 million followers. It's the most fun and exciting way to get in on the action while you watch your favorite sports and players. You can pick more than or less than on 2 to 6 player stat projections and watch for your shot to win up to 100 times your cash. With PrizePicks, you can turn $10 into $1,000 in a single game watching your favorite sports this summer. You can make a PrizePick lineup in as little as 60 seconds. You just need to pick more than or less than on 2 to 6 player stat projections, and you're locked in. If you're looking for promotions as well, PrizePicks has you covered every week, from lowering selected player stat projections on Tuesdays, which increases your chance of getting a win, to getting your entry fees back if you have a losing lineup on Friday. PrizePicks is the America's #1 fantasy sports app with over 5 million active members. Get on the daily action with your friends and become a part of the PrizePicks community today. So go download the app today and use code CHGO for your first deposit match up to $100. That's code CHGO for a first deposit match up to $100. PrizePicks, pick more, pick less. It's that easy.
To me, nothing says summer more than hanging out with your people, whether at the ballpark or at a cookout, and drinking a Leinenkugel summer shandy like I'm doing right now. And I know you're saying, Herb, I'm already converted. You don't have to convert me on Leinenkugel Summer Shandy. I drink that every day during the summer. But what does Leinenkugel have to offer in the times that it's not summer? I'm glad that you asked me, because the original lager is available. Light lager, Lakeside Cherry, Juicy Peach, Berry Weiss, Northwoods Amber, Dark Lager, Honey Weiss, and so many more. And that Honey Weiss is made with real Wisconsin honey, so you know that it's good. If you tried any of the beers that Leinenkugel offers, you know they bring the flavor for whatever occasion that you are celebrating. For over 150 years, Leinenkugel has combined German brewing traditions with Wisconsin innovation. You don't have to just pick one. Leinenkugel's popular variety packs come with 4 favorites for you to try and to enjoy. Flavor life's simple moments with Leinenkugels, the official craft beer of the Chicago White Sox. Go to Leine.com/CHGO to find delivery options near you. That's LEINIE.com/CHGO, or pick up Leinenkugels pretty much anywhere that they sell beer. Leinenkugels, flavor the moment. Celebrate responsibly. The Jacob Leinenkugel Brewing Company, Chippewa Falls.
Yes, and let's go out to Elijah Evans of FutureSox, also of Just Baseball Media and the Call Up Pod. You can follow him at Elijah ELIJH. I'm going to restart that. At ELIJAHEV8. Elijah Evans of FutureSox joining us for the second time. What's up, Elijah?
What's going on, fellas? Hope you guys are doing well. I know it's not a great time to be a fan still, just like the last time I talked to you. But at the same time, we got a fun start tonight. I cannot wait. I'm a huge fan of Drew Thorp. In addition to, we're going to be getting a lot more guys coming up the next 2 months, like we talked about last time I was on. We're going to see a lot more prospects and a lot more fun, I'm hoping.
And Elijah, as a person who has been, tangentially watching Drew Thorp, I can have somebody thinking, hey, this guy was on the Yankees last year, was the MLB Prospect Pitcher of the Year. The Padres got him and immediately traded him. Why am I supposed to be excited about a guy that 2 organizations already said, I'm good on?
Well, I'm good on is not quite the way I would put it. I think, this is a guy, right? Like Juan Soto and Dylan Cease. Like let's the preface to that is like those are the 2 guys that this guy was the headliner for. He wasn't just a throw-in piece to either of these trades. Like Drew Thorp was the legit headlining prospect to both a Juan Soto trade and a Dylan Cease trade. So like that's the type of prospect we're talking about. And I get that yes, traded twice in a year, but he was traded because he has a ton of upside. And these 2 teams are trying to win now. Meanwhile, the White Sox are in a situation where you get a guy who is clearly valued around the league as such by both those teams and many other teams, right? Thorpe is one of the highest floor arms you will see in all of minor league baseball. This is a guy who throws strikes, he attacks the zone, he works counts very effectively, forces a lot of soft contact, and just pitches, man. I mean, the guy just pitches. If you think about it like this, I was just looking at this before hopping on here. He's pitched in 11 games this season in Birmingham, right? 9 of those 11 starts, he's gone at least 5 2/3. So that's basically a 6-inning start 9 times in his 11 starts this season. Who on the White Sox is throwing 6 innings other than Erick Fedde and Garrett Crochet, right? Like nobody. Right? There's nobody else throwing 6 innings ever really, other than those 2 guys right now, right? So instantly, this is a guy who is going to get you solid quality starts. On top of that, like he doesn't walk a ton of guys. He doesn't mess around. It's really just not. I mean, it's not a profile that you're going to see just get, really all over the place. Like he's just really steady, right? Like some of these other pitchers we've seen come up, even a guy like Mastrini, a guy like Jonathan Cannon, right? Like they have a little bit harder times commanding the zone and forcing guys into soft contact and really just attacking hitters. Drew Thorpe is going to attack hitters. He's going to get hit sometimes. Like we're going to see him get hit like, on occasions, right? Like he's not going to be perfect, but he's going to attack the zone like the best of them and really at a major league level. And we've seen that all season in Birmingham. On top of that, right? This is the best changeup in minor league baseball. Probably one of the best changeups you'll ever see. This is, on Just Baseball's top 100, he's the only 80 grade changeup given out to any prospect in baseball. So it's an excellent changeup. The fastball is what some people would say is underwhelming to a degree because it's not fast, but it's got a ton of movement. He puts it all over the zone, and then he pairs in, a cutter, a slider, and a curveball that he mixes really well. He's developed that cutter in the last year that's kind of taken his game to another level because he can kind of pair it off the fastball and change the look of it a little bit. It's just, it's a deep mix of pitches. It's really good command. It's all over the zone, and he's just a guy that's going to pitch, and he's just going to get outs. And that's a guy that I think the White Sox need, and it's been clear for a month now that Thorpe is ready for a new challenge.
Yeah, I'm really interested just what these fastballs will look like. Lance Brozdowski mentioned that the actual cutter and sweeper/slider grip are the same, but they do have very different profiles. So he's able to really manipulate the ball well enough, and we see that with the changeup. I mean, the only pitcher that I've been able to find on the StatCast era with 18 inches of vertical movement on their changeup is Marco Estrada, and he throws it 5 miles per hour faster than Estrada was throwing it. So how worried are you about a 91 mile per hour fastball when we talk so much about the major league average and getting whiffs being at that 94, 95 mile per hour plateau? Is the entire makeup of Thorpe going to get those necessary whiffs? I'm not expecting like Garrett Crochet type stuff where he's leading the league in whiffs or anything like that, but the entire arsenal, do you think that's good enough to get major league whiffs?
Yeah, I really do. I don't think he's not a guy that I think is an ace of the staff, right? Like I think that fastball will probably hold him back from being, a number one in a rotation, but can he be a very, very steady middle rotation arm that you can count on every 5 days? 100%. And I think he can do that immediately, honestly. I think the fastball will have to be something he continues to work on, and he's going to have to locate it, right? Like if he's not locating his fastball, you're going to see him run into some trouble. But at the same time, like this is a guy that doesn't need to throw the fastball that much. Like he doesn't need to rely on his fastball because he has so much confidence in that changeup. He's gotten way better with both the cutter and the slider over time. And then he mixes in a curveball that can get some swing and miss in addition to that. So, it's the fastball, I get the concern and I see that, but there's also guys in the league right now that you look around Major League Baseball and like, yes, velocity is up around baseball, but there's plenty of pitchers that are extremely successful right now with a pitch mix and a ton of movement and a good location without having that elite, velocity, right? I look at a guy like Seth Lugo in Kansas City. Seth Lugo just moved into being a starter last year with the Padres, right? Had a good season, earned himself a nice payday in Kansas City. He's the ace of the Royals staff, and the Royals are looking like a borderline playoff team, and Lugo averages 92 on his fastball. He also only throws that fastball 25% of the time. So you don't need to be a guy when you have all that nasty stuff that Thorpe has, and when you're able to command all of it, you don't need to throw your fastball all the time, right? So it's a little bit of a concern, and I can see why people look at that and say, what is this guy's upside, right? But I look at it the other direction and say, what is his floor? A guy that's a major league starter today, and in my opinion, should remain in this rotation for the rest of the season and will go into next year as one of the key pieces of this starting rotation.
Elijah, we were kicking around who's the major league comp to this player. I don't know if there's a one-to-one comp in major leagues right now or in the past, but who do you think he compares to most favorably? You just mentioned Seth Lugo. Is that the guy?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of like the Lugo comp. Lugo's definitely not as much of a changeup guy, right? So it's like, it's hard to kind of, I don't know if there's that many pitchers that are that like style of pitch mix, right? I almost see him in a way as like a Logan Webb kind of a different type of pitcher, but I think he could be I think that's almost what you're looking at as like the high upside for Thorpe is a Logan Webb type where he doesn't throw super hard. He's very command based. He's not going to walk a lot of guys, but he might not have, dominance all the time, right? I think that's kind of a guy that I look at. But honestly, like this is a really unique pitcher. Like Sean mentioned, like nobody has a changeup like this. This is not somebody who you can really compare that directly to a major league starter because his best pitch by a mile is a changeup, and that's not common these days in Major League Baseball. Right? You see a lot of guys that are heavily reliant on a fastball or a slider, especially, and now you've got a guy that we're going to see 30% changeups from Drew Thorp, and that's not something that you see from almost any player at all. I mean, I see a little bit of Lucas Giolito in him, to be honest. When I look at the way he pitches, I can see a little bit of kind of that style of pitching. I think he has better command than Giolito, though, so that's something that kind of differentiates them. I'm not sure he has quite the breaking balls Giolito had at his peak, but I think I can see a lot of different guys kind of having elements of Thorpe, but he is really a unique player, honestly.
Yeah, I think the one thing, too, with the Giolito comp that we've brought up is at least the mix is a little bit more fleshed out. Lucas was still always trying to find that slider and never really had it. But that changeup, I think I kind of want to just frame a little bit more. Like, what does an 80 grade changeup mean? And do we see that with his splits against lefties? Because he is a guy that righties have had more success against them. It is comparing like a 520 OPS to like a 417 OPS. Right. But still, he dominates lefties. Is that going to be the big thing for him, is that he can throw this changeup to both righties and lefties? Do you see that from him?
100%. It's definitely, it's his go-to weapon against lefties, right? So like it's the pitch he wants to use and can use all the time against lefties, frankly. But what he's really been able to do, and what I've noticed in Birmingham this year against righties too, is mix it on the outside part of the zone. He's got, you don't see a ton of guys that can throw changeups not going their arm side, right? So most guys, your changeup, you're always going to throw on your arm side portion of the plate. Thorpe has been able to backdoor some changeups, and he's gotten good at it to the point where against righties, he can still throw a changeup on the outside corner to a righty that, against a lefty, he's going to put it on his arm side, but then he can manipulate it enough where he's able to put it on the other part of the zone against right-handed hitters as well. So it's a pitch that he can use in so many different counts. Like the other thing with Thorpe that I've seen in Birmingham, right? Like he's not afraid to go first pitch changeup, and I love that because I think it's, in my opinion, with a few of the White Sox young pitchers this season, and even looking at some of the prospects, right? There's some guys that get a little predictable with early fastball counts and just kind of are trying to get something over because they don't have the command to trust themselves to get an off-speed pitch over the plate on the first pitch or two of the at bat, right? Thorpe isn't that way. He will go to the changeup early. I guarantee tonight you'll see him throw some first pitch changeups where you're like, man, this guy just dropped a nasty changeup in there in the bottom corner of the zone on the first pitch, and hitters just watch it. And sometimes guys will chase it, right? And sometimes they're sitting on the changeup because they know his changeup is that good, right? And he's comfortable throwing it. But you have to be able to use it in different counts, in different situations, to really have a changeup that is that effective. And Thorpe has done just that. So the big thing against righties, like you mentioned, right? Like he's been better against lefties in large part because that changeup is so devastating. Against righties, he still uses the changeup, but it is going to be more important to see that slider, cutter, those two variations, especially because he's gotten better with them, but he still doesn't have quite the level of confidence in those pitches that you see with his changeup. So, that'll take some time, but nobody's hitting him, right? Like he really did not get hit at all in Double-A. A few games where he wasn't perfect, but generally speaking, like he did not get touched. The changeup never gets touched, and even the fastball, got pieced a few times here and there, but pretty minimally, right? So with Thorpe, it's about getting ahead early. It's about pounding the zone and then letting himself work and trusting the stuff is going to do its job.
Elijah, when you say that there's not a player that has a changeup like him, it kind of blows my mind because he just got out of college 2 years ago from Cal Poly, and he's in the major leagues before his 2-year anniversary. And I would see that as, okay, if you have a great pitch, that's an 80 grade, you can get to the major leagues pretty easily. And I know you want to have high spin rate, a nice slider, a nice curveball, all those good stuff so scouts can actually see you. But why don't you think more people have this type of an arsenal to get to the major leagues? Why do you think that the major league scouts are just passing by people who don't have the representative fastball that you need to be a major league pitcher?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I think that's an interesting question and just way to look at, from a scouting lens, right? Like it's hard to get by and to make yourself notice when you're not throwing 95 these days. I mean, I think that's the reality of Major League Baseball, right? Like there's so many guys that throw so hard now and have so much just nasty stuff that it can become kind of hard to make a name for yourself. I mean, this is a guy, Thorpe went to Cal Poly, right? Like I go to school in that conference, right? And that's not a baseball, you're not going there because you're a superstar coming out of high school. Like that's not where guys go for that. And Thorpe still made a name for himself and became a high draft pick because he was that good. But it's for him, he had to be, when you don't have the velocity and you don't have just completely overpowering stuff, you have to just be that good. And Thorpe has been that good. And that's something that, you don't, those are not the guys that are going to get the hype coming out of college and coming out of high school, because they're not flashy and they're not, that you see them and you say, oh, this guy's going to have to tick up, right? And he has ticked up. He's gained velocity since he got drafted. But at the same time, like, he's just been that good. And those are the types of players that's why they're kind of considered the high floor mold, right? Where it's like, it's not a guy that you see and you project him as a superstar or as an ace in a rotation, but because he's so versatile and because he has so much stuff that he mixes and matches, you can see him as, at the very least an MLB starter,
And funnily enough, I think all three active Cal Poly guys are going to be playing tonight in Drew Thorp, Brian Rue, and Mitch Haniger. So we're getting to see Cal Poly's strength on debut. All right, Elijah, we're going to let you go again. Follow Elijah on Twitter at ElijahEV8. We really appreciate his time today on short notice, and we are excited for the Drew Thorp tonight. Drew Thorp start tonight. So thank you, Elijah, and make sure you go check him out at FutureSox.
No problem, fellas. Thank you for having me on, and tune into the Thorpe start. It's going to be fun. Talk to you guys later.
Should be a blast. Thank you, Elijah. And we will take a break. We'll talk more about yesterday's blow-up, Michael Kopech, and more about Drew Thorp. We do want to let you know about our friends over at Sunnyside. Sunnyside is your home for judgment-free cannabis shopping, a place where all kinds of visitors are welcome to explore, discover, and purchase a wide array of high-quality products. Sunnyside has everything you need to elevate your summer. Not only is it your home for judgment-free cannabis shopping, they have a crazy selection with over 100 different strains to choose from, with easy online ordering and in-store pickup. And wherever you are in Illinois, whether you are as north as South Beloit, as far south as Champaign, Sunnyside has a location for you. So stop into the store nearest you for expert guidance from their staff, or select from high-quality lines like Cresco or Florical. Since I'm a big Herb Lawrence guy, I'm going to go pick up some Simply Herb over there. I don't know if they pronounce it Herb or Herb, but I'm gonna go Herb. Yeah. I know you as Herb, so I'm gonna go pick up some Simply Herb at Sunnyside, and you can too by heading over to sunnyside.shop and use code HICHGO. That's HICHGO at checkout for 35% off brands like Cresco, Good News, and more to elevate your first purchase. Sunnyside Cannabis Dispensary, bright buys every day, only for 21 plus or Illinois medical card holders.
CHGO White Sox crew has 2 takeovers left on the schedule. That's because our first one on Memorial Day, mercy, I tell you what, it was a great time had by all. We met up pregame at a bar right next to Guaranteed Rate Field, had a couple pops, walked on over to the stadium, and enjoyed a good time. That's where my mom confessed her love for Corey Julks. And so if
Hold on, real quick, I think she just professed that she, like me, couldn't say his name correctly.
Yeah, she well said Julks.
I wasn't thinking of your mom when I was saying that.
I got it. But she was in attendance. So why don't you be in attendance on June 24th, when there's a much better team in town? Shohei Ohtani, Mookie Betts, Freddie Freeman are coming to town. Monday, June 24th, we'll be in section 147 down the third baseline watching this baseball game versus one of the best teams in Major League Baseball, and the White Sox will be there too. So maybe you'll get to see Luis Robert Jr. Maybe Garrett Crochet will be starting pitcher that day. Who knows? But you know what you're going to have? A great time with us. Me and Sean will be there. Sarah might be there. She was there last time, and she was at the Cubs takeover too.
I'll most likely be there.
So why don't you come?
Bring that positive attitude.
Exactly. Sarah's going to think the White Sox are going to win that day, no matter what.
There's no reason for them not to win.
Except for the rosters they have.
Yeah.
Like I said, the seats will be down the third base line in section 147. And if you're a diehard member, you get 20% off of this event and all events that when you're a diehard. You get a free T-shirt. Go there right now and become a diehard. And if you're a White Sox diehard, tonight, after the game, I'll be hosting a chat, a Sox chat in our Discord. So you get access to our CHGO Discord, and you can have this free chat with me and all the rest of the CHGO diehard members. So go to allchgo.com and become a diehard today. And you see the link is in the comments right now that Sarah just put in there for both the takeover we're having on June 24th and to become a diehard, so you can get 20% off of this event and all others in the future. Go to allchgo.com. Link is in the description and in the comments.
And two, make sure that you sign up to be a diehard today, because in our Discord chat tonight, Herb will be leading the post-game discussion after Drew Thorpe's start. So make sure that you are joining us there as we chat about Thorpe making his major league debut. Any other thoughts you have on Mr. Drew Thorpe?
I'm just excited. This is the White Sox first top 100 prospect that's being brought up this year. And I'm excited to see, especially after talking to Elijah, he's in. And just like Elijah, even if he struggles, which I don't think he will, and he's a rookie, so of course he'll have his bumpy roads. I want him to pitch. I don't want him to be sent down when Mike Clevenger comes back or somebody else comes back. Drew Thorp is in the Sox rotation for 2024 and beyond. That's what I want, and that's what I'm looking for tonight. It's no better ballpark to make your Major League debut than Seattle, because it doesn't usually play as lively as it did last night, especially if you throw a 2-0 fastball to a hitter like Cal Raleigh. But I'm excited about that tonight.
Right, and I mean, this wasn't really the case with Cannon. Cannon's been all right. Only 4 walks in his 16 2/3 innings pitched, but it's been a huge struggle for Nastrini. 25 walks in 24 2/3 innings. As long as Thorpe is not walking people, I think that's the only thing I care about. As long as he is aggressive, as long as he keeps up that confidence, as long as he's attacking hitters, as long as he's, we were seeing that control. If he's, spotting righty on righty changeups low and away to Julio Rodriguez, and he's taking it to right center field for a homer. Oh, well, tip your cap to J-Rod. He's a top player in Major League Baseball. But, if he's going out there and, J.P. Crawford's not walking on 4 pitches, that's a win. So as long as someone is going out there and attacking, I'll be excited. And also, I know this guy isn't your favorite, but Pedro Grifol said, one thing I've learned about the big leagues is you have to have plus something. He's got a plus changeup. He commands the fastball. He's a really good athlete. He's not afraid of contact, and he's got the makeup for it. Doesn't mean he's going to come up here and win a Cy Young, but we feel like he's ready for this opportunity. And it does seem like he is ready for this opportunity. And again, it'll be interesting to see what the ceiling is for him. But it does, as Elijah said, it does feel like he's a major league pitcher. It does feel like the mix is major league, the confidence is major league, and the understanding of the batter in front of me is the assignment, right?
Yeah.
It's not about what else is happening around me. It's not about the guy on deck. It's not about what happened last inning. It seems like he has a really good ability to just move on. So hopefully we get to see that.
And he looks like a well-built cat too, 6'4", built out, so you won't have the same weariness and the troubles you're thinking about from other pitchers who are a little slighter that probably can't last a little longer. Last year he pitched for the Yankees farm system, both high A and double A, no troubles. This year for the Birmingham Barons, no troubles. So I see a durable body out there too.
Also, I get PDG is not everyone's favorite, but that quote was pretty milk toast.
It was.
That quote's pretty run of the mill right there. But shout out to Daryl, who's out in Seattle and had that quote. All right, let's get back to Michael Kopech's adventures in the 8th inning. He saw every single one of those Mariners hitters before he was pulled in the 8th inning. Couldn't finish the 8th inning. Only 2/3 of an innings finish for Kopech. 4 hits, 3 earned runs, 1 walk, 2 strikeouts. The strikeouts that he had were
filthy, dominant,
insane. I mean, the one to J-Rod, that last pitch is just, I don't understand how you hit that ball.
He's the enigma. He is an enigma because he looks like that from time to time. You're like, yes.
Well, and 2 batters later, he also looks like, walking J.P. Crawford on 4 pitches. I think the guy who was the second, Rojas, right, got to a 2-0 count. It's just, you can either see him be untouchable, the best closer in all of baseball, or a shy little kid up there.
And then I think it was 0-2 to Haniger? It was something where he had an advantage in the account. Middle fastball. I know Mitch Haniger's not the best hitter, but he's still a major league hitter in a lineup every day. And he can take a major league fastball down the middle to right center and give the winning or the leading run there.
Well, and that's the thing, too. I mean, we mentioned this when we first saw Kopech as a closer in 2024. You can't be 80% four-seam fastball. And we saw this the last outing, and we just saw this outing, especially the first batter he hit. It was a weak single. Haniger gets that single. I think even Rojas ended up getting a weak single to get through, too. Even though the fastball is so dominant, and sometimes it does hit 103 or 102, if it's sitting around 98, Mike Tauchman showed it to you, and you're geared up and you know it's coming, you could probably put that ball in play. And that was my concern when Gordo was after J-Rod missed at the first fastball, he was like, "Oh, he was very late on that. Let's throw him another one." I was like, "Ooh, to J-Rod of all people, like you leave that middle, it's gone."
But it was a 101.
Yeah, right.
And into him.
But it's just baffling, and I do think it's starting to concern me about his trade value.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that he won't be traded. He still could be traded in 2024. He's also a project that could stick around until 2025, and maybe they end up trading him then. But there's nothing right now, if I am one of the 29 other GMs, there's nothing about Michael Kopech that is inspiring me to go get this player. And I think Jim, our sales guy, was mentioning it. Maybe he's a change of scenery person. Maybe he does need a fresh start. But I do think that with Brian Bannister being here, he had a fresh ear. He had fresh eyes to diagnose him and try to fix the problems. Is Chicago, the 17-50 team that they are, really putting this much pressure on him? I don't think going to a team that's winning like the Dodgers or Yankees is going to take off this pressure. Maybe that's what he really wants, is true high-level baseball where he has to go out and be perfect, but that doesn't seem like his makeup. And I really don't think he's a change of scenery guy.
And the pitch he hit Locklear with, man, that frightened me. Like, we've seen those a couple times on him. He doesn't probably know sometimes where these balls are going because of all the movement. That was 98 at his face. I thought he hit him in the mouth, but luckily Locklear ducked down a little bit and just grazed to the tip of his cap or the tip of his helmet and ducked out of the way in time for him not to get seriously injured there. So somehow, some way, Michael Kopech has to harness his pitches and then learn how to throw a secondary pitch consistently. Like the slider we've talked about. When he is on, it's filthy. But that is few and far between. And you can tell it's few and far between because he's throwing 80% fastballs because he knows sometimes that slider is not right. And if they're sitting fastball 98, 100, and you're throwing 91, 89 slider, you just put it right into their zone. Like, they're just geared up for that, and they can crush that. Especially if it's hanging like sometimes it is.
It seems, too, that he trusts his cutter more than his slider. So if he's throwing his slider 11% of the time and only cutter 9% of the time, like, maybe we just flip that. Maybe we just throw the cutter a little bit more. Because even in that Haniger at bat, it was 90 and fast, and Haniger just had no idea what to do with it. It wasn't the first pitch, but he was completely taking it that whole entire way. So maybe we see a little bit more of that cutter, and it might not have that nasty slider movement, but it's just a different look that Michael Kopech can offer. A crazy way for them to tie up the game as well. A 99-mile-per-hour fastball up and into Raley. And this is before the Locklear hit by pitch. He bunts singles to third, reaches safely at first. Rojas scores, and it's tied 4-4. Just a crazy, crazy, ugly way for that game to get tied up. And then in the bottom of the ninth inning, even though Leasure came in and got Canzone on the first pitch to end the eighth inning, he was horrible in the bottom of the ninth. Ryan Bliss likely should. Was it Ryan Bliss? Bliss should have walked on that first at bat, but he ends up grounding out to third. Crawford walks on 5 pitches. Rojas walks on 6 pitches, and then J-Rod should have ended the game with a single to left field.
Oh my God! I don't know what that like. What are you doing? What are you doing, JP Crawford?
Crawford thought Corey Julks had the speed of Walter Payton.
What are you doing, Corey Julks? JP Crawford.
Crawford stays there, and as the bases are loaded, as we think, hey, maybe if they get a ground ball in front of the plate, you could step on home, get a double play, and we can go to extras. It's not just a walk-off. It's not just a walk-off walk. It's not just a little bloop single out into left field like the J.P. Crawford one. Cal Raleigh hit it to the moon. He hit a capital W, capital O, walk-off, grand slam, murdered the ball, and just quiet from the White Sox booth smartly. Yeah. And I kind of just sat there and, like Johnny Cash, hung my head.
You knew it was coming. Like, you knew when he missed the first pitch, which I think was way off the zone in the right-hander's batter's box, and the second pitch was low, you're like, all right, it's bases loaded. The winning run's on third. He's got to come to him. And so same thing with Cal Raleigh. It's like, okay, he's going to throw a fastball middle, and I'm not going to miss it. And he did not miss a stitch. Absolutely destroyed that baseball, as you should when you get a 2-0 count. And I love the swing that Cal Raleigh had. But, yeah, Jordan Leasure did not have it in that ninth inning. It was just an atrocious appearance by him. But he's a rookie, So I'll give him a little leeway. But if you're going to be the closer of the future, and I know it wasn't a save situation, you got to convert right there. You got to get outs right there. You can't walk people. Battle. J.P. Crawford is not a good hitter. Doesn't get on base that much, and you give him on base by a walk. Rojas is a little bit better of a hitter.
Make him swing the bat.
Yeah. And, J-Rod is J-Rod, and he did give you a single. But you at least made him work for that. That's the thing I just don't respect. And I know throwing pitches in the major leagues is hard, and it's tough. But sometimes it looks like these pitchers are scared of contact instead of going out and battle. And if I get hit, I get hit. It's fine. And that's what I'm thinking Jordan Leasure is more, that he's scared. He was scared of contact in that ninth inning instead of, hey, man, it's J.P. Crawford. Let him hit it. And if he hits it, God bless.
Yeah. And David McKinstry saying, let me tell you that 8th and 9th were painful in person. The Seattle crowd gets hyped fast. John Triffin was mentioning that. It was very quiet up until the bottom of the 8th, and then you had the Canzone homer, and then they started getting guys on base, and then that crowd started coming alive, and you could just tell it was going bad for the White Sox. I will say this, and I don't know if you noticed the same thing or not. I know that we are not only John Triffin's favorite White Sox podcast, but we are also the most critical of John Triffin, and we are making narratives out there because we hate him. So a lot of different things floating around. Believe what you want, but I thought John was a little bit different last night, a little bit more relaxed. I'm not sure if that's because it's not Stoney in the booth and it is Gordon, but it does seem like Gordon being a little bit more youthful, being a little bit more energetic, respectfully being dumber than Steve Stone in a golden retriever dog way, in a way that you just kind of want to sit next to him and hang out with him for 9 innings. That southern charm. I think John was able to relax a little bit more, and I thought it was a pretty good night for John. So I don't know if maybe the Stone Schriffen pairing is as easy as we thought it might have been, because yes, Stone is incredibly polished and incredibly accomplished as a broadcaster, but that must be pretty intimidating to also step in and be like, oh, I have to work with this 40-year veteran rather than Gordon Beckham, who is also pretty much in the same spot as I am, just a guy trying to make it in broadcasting.
I mean, you probably kind of be deferential to Stoney because of all the work he's done. Right. And maybe Stoney's not saying you have to be, but John calls him the legend every time he introduces him, and I'm sure that he feels that way about Stone's, like, hey, man, I can't be stepping on his toes. He wants to say some words. I got to let him do this, and so I can't be me. Yeah, it seemed like a little bit more relaxed with Gordon Beckham, because in that case, Gordon is a part-time guy. That's John's booth when he's in there. He can be a little bit more, hey, I can tell my stories. I can hit it up to Gordon Beckham and be a little bit more chill. He's around my same age. And also, I've probably seen him play Major League Baseball. I'm 45. I'd never seen Steve Stone play baseball. I know John Triffin had never seen him play baseball. So it's a difference in both generations and the stature of the person. So that might be intimidating to John, who's never done Major League Baseball broadcasting in his life before, while Gordon Beckham is, young in that too. So maybe that was why they sounded like they were a little bit more in sync.
Yeah, hopefully we see a little bit more JC and Justin. A little bit more Lance and
Joey,
Chris, or maybe Joey if you want to go with Joey. But yeah, should be a fun game tonight. You got the 2 Cal Poly guys going up against one another. White Sox obviously throwing out Drew Thorp, who we've talked about before. Brian Wu is going to be the other pitcher. Woo! You do love Brian Wu. You're a big fan of Brian Wu. His last 5 games, 6 innings pitched, 6 innings pitched, 6 innings pitched, 6 innings pitched, 5 1/3. So he's been very good. The Mariners have won all 5 of his last starts. He's got an ERA of 1.07. Herb.
Yeah.
This should go well tonight, huh?
I think it's going to be a well-pitched game. There's no better atmosphere for that. Last night was boring up until you got the Luis Robert Jr. home run in the 6th inning. So I think we're going to get similar game that we got last night. Pitcher's duel. I think Drew Thorp is going to go out there, maybe give up 2 or 3 runs and acquit himself pretty well. But I think Brian Wu is going to shut the White Sox down. So if we're doing predictions, of course I'm going to choose the White Sox to lose. But I think we're going to have a great discussion about what Drew Thorp did against the Seattle Mariners offense.
Hopefully, but it still might result in the White Sox loss.
Oh, yeah.
Which, again, it's just incredible.
Because once he leaves the game, that bullpen going to light that game on fire.
Yeah.
I know this is the Lawrence Holmes, doctrine. he says, White Sox get up by a certain amount, bet money line on the other team. I did that last night. I told the people, it's like, man, that Mariners line looking a little tasty when it was over 3-0.
25-1.
Yeah.
That's
and
insane.
I think that our own CHGO Bears guy, Ho, got it at 25-1, and just a $5 bet won him like $125.
There you go. There's lunch and dinner.
Yeah.
No worries there, folks. You can treat yourself. Get the McFlurry. Why not? I just did get a text. Shout out to my guy Alex. Jeff Passan just appeared on Waddle and Sylvie, and he did text me some notes. So why don't we share these? Because I think the Crochet Robert trade talks have been heating up around White Sox fans. No, just the discussion.
About to say, goddamn.
Here is the notes that Alex sent me. Pedro will be here until the end of the year, most likely. Okay. Anybody suggesting it's because of money is foolish to do so. The amount of money left on his deal is minimum enough that even Jerry wouldn't care if they pulled the plug. I do disagree with that, Jeff. I understand where you're coming from, that it's only, $1.5 million or so, but it is probably less about the money and, again, more about spiting the reports and spiting, people who want that removal or do just think that would be true accountability. I think it is more about, Joe Cowley had that report. If Joe Cowley doesn't report that in that bottom of that Billy Donovan article, I wonder if Pedro's removed. Because I think by now he might have been removed, especially after the 14-game losing streak. $1.5 million is not a lot for the White Sox to eat. They've eaten that for Leary, Dallas. I think if they wanted to make a move, they would make a move, and I think it's not because of money, but it's just because you don't have to pay him that extra money. He still works for you, and certain people aren't right.
I couldn't agree more.
Jeff reiterated the Rosenthal point that they'll be targeting position players as headliners, so anybody who is looking for top pitching prospects back, that likely won't be the case. He does say that Crochet and Fedde will be gone. Fedde return will be surprisingly high. He also has another year of control with the option. What?
Surprisingly high?
I think people aren't expecting Erick Fedde to get the return because of his past major league career. Mm-hmm. I think you have to look at him as two separate pitchers because now he does bring a complete mix. I think people are probably thinking, with Erick Fedde being an unknown because of his KBO stint and past MLB experiences, he probably won't be, getting a near what a 2 to 3 starter gets. Yeah. But I think Major League Baseball probably views him as a 2 to 3 starter.
Yeah, you'll probably get a top 100 player plus.
Yeah, or two of those fringe guys, two guys that might make the top 100 next year. Yeah. I do think that it would be a fairly decent return for Fedde. I don't know about 2 top 100s, but maybe a top 75 guy. Like I wouldn't hate that. The Crochet part's interesting, and then obviously the stay part, Robert, unless somebody comes with a Godfather offer. I did put together some Godfather offers in the Discord. I didn't get too much feedback outside of it wasn't enough, but let's talk about Fedde or Crochet first. I mean, what is there more on Fedde that you want to throw out?
No, the Crochet thing, like he said, it's just he's gonna be traded, right?
Gone Crochet, sell high, and let somebody else worry about the inning concerns down the stretch. Only have 2 more years until free agency to do so.
Such a terrible.
I'm on the side of extending him, but if somebody wants to give you an offer now and you're not willing to extend him or he's not willing to accept that offer, I'm fine with them moving him.
That's going to be one of those things you're going to look at Crochet next year and be like, that was ours. And we gave them up for X, Y, and Z. And, yeah, while those guys are coming up and maybe they're good and maybe they're going to be what Crochet is to this ball club, you already got them on the team. And your plan to extend them sounds more feasible and better for a team that is looking to rebuild and get better quicker than trying to find a top-of-the-rotation pitcher through trades. Like, this is just, I don't like it. I'm not a fan of shopping that guy when he's got 2.5 years to go, unless it's just undeniable. Hey, this deal was just, I couldn't pass it up. And how many of those are going to get? Like, who's going to come for Garrett Crochet and give you all that you want and more?
Well, I think the one thought process would be we're very concerned about the innings. We're very concerned about the workload for Crochet, but maybe somebody comes in and says, Well, he actually hasn't had that much work. He is 25 years old. He's 6'6", 200, and continually throwing 97 miles per hour. Like, the stuff doesn't seem to be degrading yet. And you're just kind of taking a bet that with his age, not only will he contribute to a 2024 team, but like the prospects that you'd be dealing away, you'd be contributing to your team in 2025 and 2026. I'm for team extend Crochet. Try to buy out some of those free agent years if you can. You're committing to him being a starting pitcher. If he gets traded, there is no assurance that he will be a starter or will be a reliever. Maybe a team sees him and says, oh, we need to wind down these innings that he's throwing and move him to the pen. I don't think he'll be happy with that. I don't think he'd be excited by that. You go to him and say, hey, Garrett, we see the amount of work that you've put into yourself. We see the pitcher that you've become as a starter. We'd like to guarantee you a top of the spot at the rotation for the next 4 years. We'll guarantee you $60 million. You'll still be a free agent when you're 29 years old. Let's do it. I don't understand that, because then that way, too, you can align the windows of Robert and Crochet to line up more. I don't think Crochet and Robert will drastically lose trade value coming into this offseason. So if you do still feel like it's the proper move to trade them at the end of the year, you can. I don't understand the idea to trade Crochet, but if you're getting, a top 20 prospect and top 50 prospect back for him, I don't hate it. Especially if they're position players.
Yeah, I mean, they said it's going to be focused mostly on position players. So there's very few teams. Like, Baltimore has enough to give you what you need from Crochet.
Right, but again,
San Diego has enough to give you Seattle. Atlanta doesn't have enough, especially as starting baseball players, position players. But, I'm just trying to think of the teams with a bunch of position players in their ranks that would also be looking for Garrett Crochet. Like, every team in Major League Baseball will be looking for Garrett Crochet, but do they have enough to offer you for you to give him away?
Yeah.
It'll be like, I'm just saying, like, the audience will be so short. You'll be shortening your ask out there if you're just looking for position players mostly and top players for Garrett Crochet.
And at least going to the Robert part, the Godfather part that Passan brings up, looking at the top 100 prospects throughout Major League Baseball, and I'm just using Major League Baseball's list just because it's the most accessible. Baseball America is usually behind a paywall. Yep. Fangraphs is a fairly advanced website to use, so we'll just use MajorLeagueBaseball.com for the ease of it. But you look at the top 4 prospects. The Orioles aren't trading Jackson Holliday.
Nope.
Paul Skeens is the Pittsburgh Pirates ace. Junior Caminero is going to be a player that the Rays want to hold on to, and they're not a team that's right now pushing for a playoff berth. So there's no reason to add a Robert or a Crochet to their team. And same with the Nationals and James Wood. I think they'd like to see what the 6'7" lefty could do for them at the major league level. So then it really comes down to, would the Padres be willing to deal Ethan Salas, the 18-year-old catcher, at advance day and be willing to include him in a package for Robert Jr.? If we're looking at the Soto packages, you need one of these true headliners of a deal. And it doesn't seem like Holliday, Skeens, Caminero, or Wood would go. I would put Cruz into the same Dylan Cruz is into the same category as James Wood. It seems like those are the building blocks for the Nationals' next era. Walker Jenkins is not going to be an in-division trade. I don't see why the White Sox and Twins would do a deal here. Lawler seems a little bit too advanced. Jordan Lawler of the Diamondbacks seems a little bit too advanced for them to go out and make a deal for him. I also don't think there's a need with Corbin Carroll there.
Let's say they have a bunch of outfielders. They're trying to trade out their outfielders they have already on the Major League roster.
I know the Sox, I think, like Marcelo Mayer, who's 11th. But again, I don't even know if he's at 21, if that's interesting enough. Max Clark and Jackson Jobe are both of the Detroit Tigers at 9 and 12. And then it comes to the Orioles at 13. And we've seen them be extremely withholding of dealing their top prospects. They weren't willing to give that up for Corbin Burns. They weren't willing to give that up for Dylan Cease. Maybe Robert Jr. is that type of player, but at least for Crochet, I wouldn't put them into the mix of that. I don't think they'd trade their top prospects for Crochet. I don't think they'd be truly interested in making the right deal for Getz to give up Garrett Crochet, because we've seen them be stingy with their prospects already.
But also with that Orioles thing, you see what they did trade for Corbin Burns and Ortiz. Nice. Looking really nice at the Major League level for the Milwaukee Brewers. So that was their fifth or sixth prospect in their system at the time. And so he's like, okay, their prospects are not only just deep, they are major league ready. That guy was just blocked by a bunch of other Oriole prospects and major leaguers at the league already. So he can play already. So, yeah. And if you're trading with the Padres, yes, you have to have Salas. But I'm not sure if the Padres were going to be trading an 18-year-old catcher.
Well, then you're not getting Luis Robert Jr.
Exactly.
So,
but also,
go.
it's not just Salas. It's Jackson Merrill, a 21-year-old center fielder that they would have to include if you want Luis Robert. That's the type of stuff I'm asking for if I'm the White Sox. I'm not asking for Snelling or other players in their farm system. I'm asking for your major league center fielder right now and your young catcher that's in high A. And if we need more, cool. But those are the two pieces I need for 3.5 years of Robert. Goddamn right, I'm asking for Salas. And if they say no, I'm like, all right, San Diego, you don't want Robert then. Click.
Yeah, I didn't include your guy in the Padres package that I put out in Discord. This is for Robert Jr. I put Salas, who's fifth in Major League Baseball according to MLB Pipeline, and first for the Padres. Snelling, who's 25th in MLB Pipeline, and second for the Padres. DeVries, who's 79th in Major League Baseball and fourth in the Padres system, and then one more rookie lotto player, whoever you do want to, who maybe Brian Bannister as a guy there. I mean, you wouldn't do a top 10, a top 25, and a top 80 player?
No.
I mean, I think you at least listen to that call.
But then you counter, I got to have Jackson Merrill.
Yeah, maybe. I don't even know if that might be too much, but I don't know. I threw out for Baltimore Kobe Mayo, who's the 19th prospect in Major League Baseball, third in their system. Samuel Basallo, who's 13th in Major League Baseball and second in Baltimore system. And then Baumeister, who's 21 years old, dominating high A right now, 18th in their organization, but Fangraphs asked some GMs, like, who are some guys that are kind of on the edge that could be clicks to pick. For the first time this year, we're including picks to click, players from some of our sources in baseball who think they're going to have a breakout season in 2024. Baumeister was a part of that list. He's currently got a 1.88 ERA, so he's liked by the major league voices. You know who's also a part of that list?
Who?
George Wolkoff.
Oh.
And look at him hitting 467-foot home runs. So I think that would be another package. People have thrown out the Mariners and Phillies for Robert. Colt Emerson, 18 years old. He's top 50 in Major League Baseball. He's likely probably going to be top 20 and maybe even top 10 next year. He's going to be a guy that absolutely rises up the ranks. So 49 might not sound nice right now, but still he's got a lot of potential. There's Celestin as well. He's the top 23 international J15 signing from the international class of 2023. He's currently fifth in Seattle's organization. And then there's Ty Pete, who is seventh in Seattle's organization. And then there's a pitcher, I forget, I think it's Mike Ford. I could be wrong about his first name. Not that one. Okay. There's a different Ford with Seattle, but he's fairly young, and not Harry Ford, who's also there's another Ford who's a Mariner. It is Mike Ford. No, it's not. Walter Ford. There it is. Walter Ford out of Alabama. He was a guy that they went over slot for to get him away from the Alabama Crimson Tide, and so far he's been good, and he's only 19 years old. And then Philadelphia, Andrew Painter, he's 18th in Major League Baseball. I think it's Aiden Miller. I'm not looking at the list right now. He's 47th in baseball. There's this kid, Rincon, who's 7th in their organization. Arias, who's 26th in their organization. And then, why not sprinkle on top? Bring back J-Rod. Bring back Jose Rodriguez. Why not? He's going to miss a year.
Popeye.
So less value there, right? Yeah. So why not? He's 27th in their organization. He's still like 21.
Yeah, he's young.
Bring back Popeye. Come on. So yeah, I'm for keeping Robert and Crochet, and I think the next 7 weeks I'll probably be sick with every single Robert or Crochet rumor.
Me too, and I think that the White Sox are gonna have Chris gets his trades so far. The 5-1 for Aaron Bummer. All right, nothing has come out of that trade yet, and I'm like, oh yeah, that's a Major League Baseball player. I mean, Nicky Lopez is fine, and somebody was talking about Riley Gowans is in A ball. He's probably the best of all of them, but he hasn't played in major leagues. He's years away, ILL. And the Dylan Cease trade is paying dividends tonight. You'll see that tonight when you have Drew Thorp on the bump. So he's done well with the limited trades he's done. Now, this will be his first real in-season trade. Scratch all that Robbie Grossman crap. This is the true test to see if he can do the job of changing this team from where it is now, and the worst team in baseball, to a team that can compete in 2 years or 3 years, because you don't get 5 years to rebuild your team. That's just way too much time. So can he get the players in here that are close to MLB or MLB ready to hit the ground running in 2025? Because as Sean said, lots of money's come off the books. And if you're trading Robert and you're trading Crochet with Robert more than likely, you're getting more money off the books there. So that's what I'm looking forward to if Chris gets ready for the big spotlight that he's going to be putting himself into. And if he's going to be trading all these people, he's going to have to start right now. It's the middle of June already. The trade deadline's at the end of July. You got 10, maybe, plus players you got to trade and people you got to acquire. Get to work.
Get to work. All right, Chris Getz, come on. Herb Lawrence is telling you of CHGO White Sox. Get to work. That's Herb Lawrence. You can follow him at Eckernwall23. He's our CHGO White Sox community leader. I'm Sean Anderson. You can follow me at Sean_W_Anderson. Hit that thumbs up button. We will be joining our diehards in the Discord after Drew Thorpe's Major League debut. So make sure you sign up today so you don't miss that content. Thank you to Sarah for producing the show. Thank you to Elijah Evans for joining us and giving us his report on Drew Thorpe. Hit that thumbs up button. Hit that subscribe button. We will talk to you tomorrow. Goodbye.
We all silly like the mayor.